to New World Order, coming to you from Glasgow. It's amazing that the COP26 happened here, that global elites all travelled here, and for one brief moment, Glasgow had the highest per capita concentration of paedophiles since the 1981 TV Quick Awards. Boris Johnson got a lot of flack this week because he went on a hospital visit, but he didn't wear a mask. And it just shows you how people can see things differently, doesn't it? Because a lot of people say, this is terrible. It could have spread COVID. And I thought, this is brilliant. He could have caught COVID. Prince Harry claims that he predicted the riots at the US Capitol, but given his level of intelligence, he might have just remembered them and got... Prince Harry said that he left Britain because his family weren't there for him. To be fair, they might have been busy trying to wrestle his uncle off a Girl Guide delegation. There could be a shortage of meat this Christmas, and it's partly because there's a shortage of abattoir workers, because in Britain, most of our psychopaths tend to go into the police. But there also could be a shortage of gas to kill the animals with. And it made me think, don't cows emit methane? Couldn't we get a tube that went from the cow's arse round to its mouth and do it like a kind of car suicide? I mean, hopefully that works and you don't have to trick a cow into a car. Daisy, Daisy, there's grass in the glove compartment. Come on. And finally, there was a big scandal this week involving Tory MPs and allegations of lobbying. Now, people like Sir Geoffrey Cox, people like Owen Patterson, they were already earning huge amounts of money. So all we've learned is something that we knew already. Any Tory MP would fight you at a urinal for the opportunity to fish an out-of-date £1 coin out of 2 inches of piss. OK, let's get on with the show. Joining me tonight to discuss the week's big topics are Miles Jupp, Kerry Pritchard McLean and Jamali Mandel. How you doing, guys? Good week. Not seen you in a while.
Yeah, I know. I've been in America.
How was it, man?
It was all right. It was weird being in a country post-race war. And everyone pretending that there wasn't a race war. And me just reminding everyone they had a race war.
What about you, Kelly? What have you been up to?
I turned 35.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Had a big party at my house in a barn, which makes it sound bougie. Because I think whenever people think of barn parties, they think of like fairy lights and Tories. But mine is proper like Welsh barn, so like asbestos, fireworks indoors.
What have you been up to, Miles?
Well, I've just been sort of having a bit of thinking time. I was pondering, I don't know how much of a reach you feel it would be for me. I was pondering becoming a Tory MP, just as a way of sort of topping up my income.
Well, you're already cosplaying one.
Yeah, exactly. I have to offset the way Kiri dresses, essentially. She's sort of sexy and dangerous, and I'm sort of comforting, I suppose. I look like I've turned up to drive you all home once you've finished having enough fun, essentially.
Our first motion is about the future of the United Kingdom. Soon, the shithole that is the UK will break up into 4 separate shitholes. After Brexit, support for Scottish independence is higher than ever. Scottish people want back into the EU, largely so they can conga past the English in the non-EU passport queue in Malaga. There's no referendum in sight, and Scotland is left with a sterile politics, presided over by Nicola Sturgeon, the only person in the world who can squint with her whole face. Who has the air of a stepmom that's happy for you to hear her fucking your dad, but loses her mind if you don't use a drinks coaster. And it must be weird being in Northern Ireland these days. Britain doesn't want to let you go, and at the same time, Britain often forgets that you exist. It's like being locked in the basement of someone who doesn't fancy you anymore. There's an odd paradox at the heart of Ulster Unionism. Catholicism is often considered the more flamboyant religion with its saints, symbolism and priests in elaborate robes. Protestantism is usually unadorned and dour, but Orange Order parades are full of life, costume, and colour. In many ways, being an Orangeman is the single most Catholic thing that you can do. That's gonna fucking annoy them. Joining us to discuss the union, please welcome comedian Susie McCabe. How you doing, Susie?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Where do you stand on Scottish independence?
Oh, pro-independence. My thing is, they always say, oh, you know, it's a partnership of equals, and then it gets caveated with this, well, can it really be equal because England's bigger and it's got more people? It's a bit like being told your older sibling needs to get the top bunk because they're older, even though they still wet the beds. Either way, you're getting pissed on. It's just depressing, isn't it? I just feel as if everything's changed in the past decade. Like, you've got a generation of kids who have lived through Tory austerity and Brexit, who all now have a vote, and they have grown up with Scotland having its own parliament, and they're like, what is this that we're connected in? And it's not even an anti-English thing. It's just a case of going, if the union breaks up, you'll be left with the worst party and the worst prime minister that you voted for. So have it.
I do feel, though, that with the SNP, they have this image, don't they, of like they manage things really well, managerial competence, and that's not really that justified. There's a lot of poverty in Scotland, there's a lot of inequality in Scotland. Child poverty's gone up since 2017. And it's hard to joke about them. See, as a satirist, you're like, they're almost deliberately boring. Like, they've got Sturgeon, she looks a bit like a thumb with a paper cut. That's...
I always thought it was really interesting during the pandemic when they used to have the SNP, like whether it be Sturgeon or Swinney, and they always just had a wall of books. And it was all about Scotland, pictures of Scotland, Scotland by politics, Scotland's hills, and then the Bible. And you're like, you're still just a big old bunch of Presbyterians, aren't you?
What do you reckon, Miles? Because you lived in Scotland for quite a few years, you went to uni up here.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that strikes me about independence, and I can understand the sort of hunger for it, is there not be quite a lot of admin involved. I can understand ideologically being very passionate about it, but at the same time, this sort of faff, you know.
I think my parents fall into this category where they're sort of like, so I've got an English mother, Welsh father, both live in Scotland, and I think they're nostalgic for the idea of the union. So they're anti-independence of either Scotland or Wales because they like the idea of, we're all sort of together.
Yeah, I think we got to stop making policies based on nice memories.
The cultural division in Northern Ireland has long been a reminder of the fragility of the Union. Many people are surprised to find out that the partition of Ireland in 1921 remained a cultural and political success, celebrated on both sides of the border for almost 25 minutes, before descending into chaos, hostility and murder. Here we see Patrick Kilty tackling the question of the Irish border and Northern Irish identity in his eye-opening, thoughtful documentary, 100 Years of Union.
Many Protestants are loyal to Britain, whilst many Catholics want to reunite with the Irish Republic. But this year, in some Protestant areas, it seems like people are more determined than ever to show they're British to the core. Do you feel that recently you kind of need to put that on display a wee bit more? Does it feel that things are a wee bit more under threat?
A wee bit forgotten about at times.
Forgotten by who?
Governments, you can be sort of pushed aside. Like, we have a fight for identity in a way.
Talking to you guys and seeing, how much being part of the UK means. It's interesting because when I go back to London, nobody really talks about this place.
Frank, how's it going? Not too bad, what are you at? Putting in the hard work for the big bonfire that we've invited you to. You should come and help build it so that you can say that you were part of the process. Oh, there's someone coming to leave something off of the bonfire now. There you go.
What are you doing here?
We're just chillaxing here.
Hang on, so where do you want this? You want this in...
You know what? Leave it there.
Hang on, sure, look. Here we go.
What was in that, like, duvet cover? That was like bits of her husband or something.
I think it would have been quite awkward if that sheet that he threw exploded on impact.
You can look at that two ways and go, no one really cares about you, or they're literally just trying to cling on to their identity. Like, I don't even think the Queen would be that enthusiastic about being British. Like, that shop is terrifying. Like, I think the Queen would just be like, guys, maybe travel? Meet people? Just chill the fuck out, guys.
Like when she was saying, oh, sometimes I feel a bit forgotten about, and she's standing there in a shop surrounded by like Union Jacks going, oh, the government doesn't really care about us, but it's like she doesn't put two and two together, and that is really tragic. And Patrick Kilty's like, well, back in London people don't talk about, but the way he's saying it is like he just wants her to know that he lives in London. You know what I mean?
Do you have a gig over there, Jamali?
Yeah, I remember one time, actually, I was doing a show for this uni, and they weren't laughing. And I did this joke about looking like a terrorist, and everyone kind of looked at me, and I got really mad at them. And I was like, you don't know what it's like for people to think that you're a terrorist. And then I realised I was a Libyan. I really went over them like, you don't understand my struggle. And they looked at me like, mate.
Northern Ireland actually has a different age of consent from the rest of Ireland. Sort of makes you wonder if an Irish teenager has ever, for a thrill, bent someone over the border. Don't back onto it or I'll get 18 months. Brexit has done wonders to relight the Irish bonfire. Who better to stoke the sectarian fires than Nigel Farage? Here's the human codfish being grilled by an impassive Claire Byrne in a tense interview on RTE.
I know that you apologise for the birthday greeting which you delivered in the last couple of days, but I want people to see just how much you know about the history and culture on this island.
Now, it's a bit early in the day, so all I've got actually is coffee, but I hope you enjoy a few pints with the lads tonight. Up the Ra.
Up the Ra, Nigel. I mean, I know that you said sorry. I know you get 87 quid. It's entirely within your rights to do that. But come on, don't try and lecture the Irish people about the culture and history and precarious nature of peace on this island. You haven't got a clue.
He says that's coffee. I've always assumed that he basically just recycles his own hot piss. You know, it could be...
I just think that you've got Tory MPs sat in the Virgin Islands making millions of pounds, and then you've got Nigel in a cupboard doing videos for fag money.
Large numbers of Scottish Labour voters have abandoned the party for the SNP. But can that be turned around by Sir Keir Starmer, a man who can't get into Sainsbury's because the automatic doors don't acknowledge him? Here's the human question mark looking more than usually faded in the orange glow of the Andrew Marr show as he's given an uncomfortable reminder of Labour's failures by the actor Brian Cox.
You were always a great Labour supporter and you moved to the SNP. First of all, just tell us briefly why.
It's Andrew. We really haven't got enough time because I am a socialist. I'm riven. I'm very riven about the party, and I totally agree with Keir on so many things. But my country was traduced for long enough, so Scotland has always been sidelined.
That was a good, pithy reply, Brian. Keir, is there anything you can say to Brian to win him back, do you think?
Well, I hope so, because it is certainly true that we have to do a lot of hard work in Scotland. I think what Brian has said is really the most important thing, which is actually respect and listening to Scotland has to be an essential part of this, not an afterthought, not a secondary consideration. And I think there's space for that. I actually do think there's a lot that we would agree on, and that is a good basis for building the future. But you know, have we got a lot of work to do? Yes, we have.
Is there any kind of new arrangement you can make with the SNP? Any kind of conversation that would help you get back via Scotland to number 10?
No, Andrew. As I think I've said to you before, there's no basis for a deal before we go into an election.
I'm looking at Logan Roy here with a deeply unimpressed Scott. You've got a smile back on your face.
I mean, that was more awkward than the last time I was in couples therapy. And I was the one they were both secretly fucking.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, Keir Starmer, we can't... He's a result of... They had Corbyn, who was too exciting. And they were like, fuck, this is too exciting, let's turn it right down. And they've killed it.
If you look at the two of them together, if you could have some sort of hybrid of Starmer and Brian Cox, so you've got sort of Brian Cox's charisma and his, you know, coupled that with Keir Starmer's, I'm assuming, the ability to sort of really tick off a to-do list. You know, that... If you put those things together, it'd be absolutely beautiful. I don't think beautiful's the right word. Let me withdraw that remark.
The thing, though, isn't it? If Labour had a big personality to lead them, they could fudge some of this stuff. But they've got this guy who goes on to interviews thinking, my ideal interview would be if I wasn't asked any questions at all. And just kind of deflates on screen.
Maybe they need Ed Balls in like a Strictly outfit that he wore to lead the party.
Can I also say, I'm appalled that Ed Balls is doing a documentary series that's on before this show, and it's like he goes and investigates like care homes or he does different things, and it's not. Yeah, that's what's on before this.
Oh, that's
Ed
right,
Balls
yeah.
in the care home crisis, and they haven't even called it Balls Deep In. Run for years, balls deep in the care home crisis, balls deep in the Middle East. I just...
Balls deep in the scout movement. Basically anywhere where there's trouble. Yeah.
Well, I think we've dealt with the union pretty thoroughly. Thanks to Susie!